Right now, welcome in. If you're watching on your screens, we love you guys. Thanks for doing that. Please make sure to subscribe to us over at YouTube. Lots and lots of growth over there. You can also catch us on all the other venues, and Greg's going to be the one to tell us all that fun stuff. You're in the Kahr Firearms Group studios with me, and I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom, and all of you new affiliates around the country. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing? Here we are, brother. Never fails, right?
It always gets here so fast.
Always gets here so fast. You have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was actually a pretty good weekend.
Excellent.
Hot. Very hot.
It's hot, and it's hot, and it is summertime. We had a lot of really good thunder here over the last few days, and we might get some again this evening. And
having
guys,
that right now.
Yeah, guys, if you're watching me on your screens, you might see me glancing over to the left. That's not me weirding out. That's because I've got the race on in Atlanta on one of the studio monitors up there on the wall. So I'll be checking in on that from time to time, just because, you know, I like to go to the races, and because I can, and because I would have loved to have been there, but it was a night race. If it was during the day, I probably would have been there. Greg, tell everybody where they can watch us on all the great platforms that we're on and participate in the various chats, and we'll get started with Dr. John Lott and get this party started.
Yep, sure. Places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can head over to X and watch us at AAR Mark. You can always head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And to join the live chats, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Before we get going, I got to say this on behalf of Andy Hoosier. Conor McGregor is done.
Oh, yes.
That was the... Okay, enough of that. Maybe we'll go there in the round table. That was the worst thing. Wait all day.
Conor's put on some great fights, but that was not a good one for him.
No, 2 fights in, 10 years, and that's what's happened. Anyway, I digress. Dr. John Lott, moving on, crimeresearch.org. John, welcome to the program today. How are you, my friend? Welcome back. Stateside, I might add. Welcome back.
Doing great. Great to talk to you again.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you. We've got you for 2 segments. You know how fast it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle in. Let's get started. And I'm going to go over to a Real Clear Investigations.com piece from Dr. Lott. Mythbuster. U.S. much safer than many peer nations. John R. Lott wrote this at Real Clear Investigations on July 9th, and it's up for you if you want to see it. Conventional wisdom, John, as you write, holds that the United States is the most violent and dangerous nation in the developed world. This dark view is frequently invoked by conservatives to demand stronger penalties for crimes and by progressives to argue for stronger gun laws. At the same time, other nations point to crime as an Achilles heel of the American system. These include 2 peer nations with some of the most restrictive gun laws in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, that refers to Australia and Canada. John, I'll let you take it away. But before we get started, you were out of the country for a couple weeks. The social media has just erupted with fans from all over the world telling social media that America isn't what is being reported. So many people around the world said they were scared to come here, and they're finding that this is a fabulous place to be, John. It kind of fits, doesn't it? Start us off.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Look, I mean, the main problem is that the media and most people compare crime rates across countries by looking at reported crimes. It's the data that the FBI puts out, and it's what the media focuses on here in the United States. The problem is most crimes aren't reported to police. You may have about 43% of violent crimes in the United States reported to police and about 30% of property crimes. But the thing is, the rate that crimes are reported varies across countries. So, in a country like Australia, for something like rape, you have like 19%, according to the government's report to police. I think it's lower than that, but take their 19%. Rapes in the United States is 45%. So if you could have it so that rapes and sexual assaults, the true rate, let's say, was identical for 2 countries, but if one country 19% are reported and the other country 45%, it's going to make it look like the country where more crime is reported to police has a higher rate, even though they were both the same. In fact, though, if you look at Australia, their rape and sexual assault rate is about 3 times higher than the rate in the United States. Their assault rate's about 2 times higher. Their burglary rate is like 2.5 times higher. The overall violent crime rate for a country like Canada, when you're looking at total rather than just reported, is about 3 times higher than the rate in the United States. these are data from the Australian or the Canadian government compared to the U.S. government data. But the media, unfortunately, doesn't look at total amounts. And so in the United States, the way we know what percentage of crimes are reported to police is that we have something called the National Crime Victimization Survey. The Bureau of Justice Statistics has been doing this for over 50 years, about 53 years. And, about 240,000 people are surveyed each year in order to get, an estimate of total crime victims rather than just the rate that's reported to police.
John, Gavin Newsom put a tweet out, well, let's say the millennials that run his X page, whatever you want to call it, X, Twitter, whatever it is, talking about how crime is down significantly in California, and that if, in fact, people make the actual comparisons, they will find that red states have a much higher crime rate. Now, I will point out, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that let's just take that on face value. There's two things that I would point out. Number one, California has basically legalized certain crimes, okay? They're not prosecuting certain crimes at this point, which is obviously going to lower their numbers if they're not prosecuting them. And second of all, when you point to red states, and I'll use Georgia, the state that I'm in, as an example, you remove the crime in Atlanta, which is a blue city in a red state, and Georgia is basically a crime-free state. So we see this across the country. It's always the blue cities in red states. How does this square up?
Right. It's something I've written on a number of times. What you find is that it's kind of misleading to go and talk about crime rates in red states versus blue states, because crime is something that's dealt with locally. The number of police and the policing policies are determined by individual cities. Judges are, in the vast majority of the country, are elected locally. You may have kind of the possible penalty ranges are determined by the state government. But, though there are instances where local governments have ordinances on a number of things. But overwhelmingly, the rate that you arrest people, the rate that you convict them, the district attorneys are elected locally, and the judges who determine what the penalties will be, all those are done locally. And as you're indicating, when you look across the country, it's basically blue counties, Democratic counties and cities where you see the high crime rate, and the rest in Republican counties and cities you see very low crime rates. So, and that's even after you try to take into account things like the different demographics that you have for those places. But look, my own guess is nationwide we saw a big drop in violent crime in 2025. That's quite a change from the pattern that we saw during the Biden administration. During the Biden administration, while reported crime that the FBI puts out supposedly fell by 8%, total violent crime as measured by the Bureau of Justice Statistics increased by 59%. That's the largest percentage increase that we've ever seen over any 4-year period of time by far. But I think both reported and total violent crime will, when we get to September and the total violent crime data is released, we'll see that it fell. And it's not rocket science to me about why that's the case. If you want crime to fall, you have to make it risky for criminals to commit crime. Right. And we've had a sea change going on. Arrests by the FBI doubled in 2025 compared to 2024. You have U.S. attorneys around the country who are much more serious about prosecuting criminals. I mean, look at Washington, D.C.
Oh, prime example.
During the Biden administration, the U.S. attorney there refused to bring criminal charges against 67% of the people who were arrested by police there. Under Trump, Judge Dean Pirro, it's only 4%.
Yeah, well, that to me,
she's not bringing charges.
To me, what they didn't do then is a crime in and of itself. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, I'm going to give you some numbers that John put out for us that will blow your mind. How much higher is Canada's violent crime rate to the U.S.'s in 2019? We'll be right with John about that briefly, so we're going to move quick. You know where to go to find our great partners. Let's go back to Dr. John Lott. John, welcome back, my friend. I do want to give these numbers real quick on Canada because these blow my mind. A couple weeks back, 3 weeks ago, you and I talked a little bit about the percentage being near 300. But I think when you break it down like this, guys, take a listen to this. We'll let John comment. Overall total violent crime. How much higher is Canada's violent crime rate relative to the U.S.'s back in 2019, where the numbers we were pulling from? Overall total violent crime, 295% higher, ladies and gentlemen. Overall total violent crime, excluding rapes and sexual assaults, 175% higher. Robbery, 268% higher. All assaults, 164% higher. And you mentioned, John, that Australia shows a similar pattern. So, you know, this misconception, again, I point to what, you know, hundreds of thousands of people that are here for the World Cup are saying publicly that they're reporting it's not true. It's all fake news,
right,
ladies and gentlemen. John, there you go. Take it away, and then we'll move to another couple quick topics with you.
No, I mean, and what crime we do have in the United States is very concentrated in tiny areas within the country. So, you know, it's good that people from other countries were able to see how safe the United States is. I mean, they'd go to states like Florida or Texas, many other states where people, you know, you have millions of people carrying permanent concealed handguns. You know, God only knows they were conditioned to think that people would be pulling out guns and just shooting each other all over the place. But they learned very quickly, as you say, that wasn't the case.
And I got to hand it to Bill Maher for putting that one report out when he gave that montage of all of those clips. It was really wonderful to see him do that and defend the United States. I thought it was fantastic. So kudos to Bill Maher for doing that. Let's move over to another piece that you have out right now, and this is at thefederalist.com. This came out on the 9th as well. Trump's immigration enforcement really is slashing violent crime. Now, Donald Trump is on record telling California, telling other cities, Chicago in particular, John, let us come in and stop your crime problem. He has proven that it works. He's proven it in D.C. and famously in Memphis as well, and others that we're not familiar with that isn't being talked about. But they won't do it. And what does Johnson do in Chicago, John? He spends $100 million of money Chicago doesn't have so that he can create a gun violence prevention group with the goal of reducing gun deaths in Chicago in 5 years. I mean, come on, man. This is so laughable now, John. It's a joke. The fix is available. They just won't take it. Take it away.
Right. Well, I mean, nationwide, I mean, there are two different things. One is just the general federalization of law enforcement generally that we saw in D.C. and in Memphis. Obviously, that increased arrest rates and across the board for criminals, both American citizens who are criminals and illegal aliens who are criminals. ICE, though, is involved across the country, even in places like California and Chicago, even if they have difficulties because of local sanctuary city type policies, but they're still arresting people and deporting them. We have about 70% of the people, illegal aliens who have been deported under the Trump administration were individuals who had criminal records in the United States. There's a lot of games that people play with claiming that it's a lower percentage. As far as I knew, whether somebody had a criminal record include not only convictions but arrests, and also they limit it to only a few types of crimes. But if so they don't want to include kidnapping, they don't want to include people being drug dealers or whatever as having as part of their what they call a criminal record. But it's not just those individuals. It's also the illegals that you haven't even caught yet because they don't want to get deported. Mm-hmm. And how do they keep from being deported? Because they know if they get arrested, they get taken down to the local county courthouse and arraigned. There's a good chance that an ICE agent could be there to pick them up and deport them. And so the way they keep from getting deported is to keep off of police radar. And the way they keep off of police radar is they don't commit crimes right now.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
so,
something that we'll never
this
know a
last
number
year-
to. We'll never know that number, but it's built in, I think, baked in with the overall numbers. I think we just have to assume that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this last year, we had the lowest murder rate ever recorded. They've been recording murders in the United States since 1900. And over that 125 years period of time, 126 years, we had a rate last year of less than 4 per 100,000. The lowest previous rate that we had over those 125 years was 4.5 per 100,000. And in 2024, it was 5 per 100,000. So, these are amazingly low numbers compared to anything historical in the United States. And, I hope the media is willing to give Trump some credit because, the fact that it's the lowest ever by a substantial margin, hopefully they'll go and ask, well, why is that the case? And it's multiple things. It's the fact that law enforcement's doing its job. It's the fact that you're deporting these illegal aliens. It's not a coincidence in my mind that we had this record percentage increase in violent crime during the Biden administration when we had this record inflow of illegal aliens. And then when we're stopping illegals coming in and deporting them by the millions, we're seeing a big drop in violent crime under the Trump administration. It's not a coincidence. And at the same time, as we've talked about before with the survey data that we have, we've seen continued big increases in the percentage of Americans who are carrying concealed. Mm-hmm. And that also helps.
It all ties together. John, we're coming to the end of the two segments with you. I appreciate everything that you do. Ladies and gentlemen, it's crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org. You can do like I do and go over there and donate. You can donate $5, $50, $10, whatever you have. These numbers that John puts out, they're all available at .com. And of course, one of our new ones is Silent, SLNT.com, SLNT.com. Have you checked them out yet? Greg, have you gone over there and looked at Silent, SLNT?
Not Silent specifically, but I have
You're
been in the
familiar
market.
with the products.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, these guys are top notch. This is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. If you value your privacy like I do, and I've been using their products for a number of years, I said 2. I think it's been longer than that because I missed a SHOT Show in there and I had been using it for at least 2. So it's been at least 3 years that I've been using Silent products. And what that is it's a Faraday bag that you put your phone in it, your phone disappears, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said before, I'm not the IT guy, but the geo-fencing thing is what gets me. I hate that when they've got me. And they set up this perimeter, and if you've got a cell phone anywhere in there, even if you're not a part of what's going on, your phone's in there, ladies and gentlemen. And what they do is, well, they got you. And I don't like that. I don't like that with my computer. I don't like that with my phone. And they got you. Not with this stuff, not with Silent, SLNT. CIA can't find you, folks. It's that simple. And these things flat out work. I know because I've left my phone in it by accident before when my wife was trying to get a hold of me and she was looking at, we got that 360 app, you can see where everybody's at nowadays and all that. Boy, how did we ever live without that stuff? Mom didn't know where we were and we're all still here. Of course, I was raised on garden hose water and no helmets. You know what I mean?
Same.
Exactly. And boy, I wish we could get back to that. Life was so much better. But nonetheless, those things, no, you can't be found, folks. It's that simple. You disappeared. So do we have AWR on the phone yet?
We
No?
do not.
We do not have AWR on the phone yet? Okay, well, we'll wait for him to call in. And just in case AWR doesn't call in, I've got a couple stories of his I want to cover anyway. And do we need him here? Yeah, we want him here, but we don't have to have him here to cover these stories. Greg, you might not know this. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the National Shooting Sports Foundation, get this, relative to some suppressor numbers, 845,000 suppressor applications were submitted January through May 2026.
Wow.
Are you shocked by that? That's a huge number.
I had no idea of what kind of a demand there would be, but I knew there would be some. But wow.
Yeah, it's the right now what we refer to as the Trump slump, right? And this, I hate that, but it was predictable as the day is long. Trump wins the election, firearm sales will depress. Kamala Harris wins the election, firearm sales are going to go through the roof. And that's good for business, there's no question, but it's very bad for our liberties and our freedom. I'd much rather suffer through a Trump slump. And I believe, for the most part, while I've heard joking out there from a number of folks, we need another Democrat in office. Nobody really wants another Democrat in office because the long-term effect is so detrimental to our freedoms and our liberties. But we knew this was going to happen with suppressors. And now to see the numbers really is just huge. And with the ATF turnaround on suppressors right now and NFA items, they're surging right now. And it all is a part of, as you know, Trump's one big, beautiful bill, which removed the $200 tax on NFA items. It's not unusual that we're seeing this. I was curious to see how big the numbers were going to be. And honestly, I think part of me would have guessed over 1 million, but I just think it's fantastic. And I know the left goes crazy because they've demonized through movies and all this fake news suppressors. And if you've ever fired a suppressed weapon, it's really hard to go back. Now, Greg, ask me if I have any suppressed weapons.
Mark, do you happen to have any suppressed weapons over there?
I do not. I do not. And there's been a method to my madness for a long time because during unfriendly administrations, I've been very hard on the ATF. And frankly, it just wasn't something I wanted to get involved with, but that will be changing in the very, very, very near future. On June 26, Breitbart News noted the Senate parliamentarian said the NFA language did not comport with the Byrd Rule. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
As a result, the big, beautiful bill passed with the removal of the federal tax stamp requirement for suppressors from 200 to 0. But the cumbersome NFA regulations still stayed in place. But what happened was when that occurred, the removal of the tax immediately meant suppressors cost $200 less than they once did. $200 less instantaneously. The price dropped. And as a result of that, sales are booming. According to the American Suppressor Association, in 2011, only 22 states allowed hunters to use suppressors. Today, it's 41. You're welcome. P.S. American Suppressor Association won't stop until it's 50. And that's exactly what has to happen because the misconception out there relative to quote-unquote silencers, and I hate that term, and I catch myself using it all the time. It's just part of the vernacular. It's part of the lexicon out there. Suppressors do not silence firearms, ladies and gentlemen. They simply muffle the ear-splitting sound of a gunshot report. That's it, which protects the hearing of hunters and the ambience of nature as well. But the left will never give you that. And the vast majority of hunters that I know who hunt with suppressed weapons will never go back to hunting without a suppressed weapon. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. It's pretty much that simple. Now, let's go to California. I hate to do it, but I got to because it's what we do here. Greg, we talked about this a couple days ago on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. We've had a couple run-ins before with this judge. I am pretty sure judge out in California denied the DOJ's injunction request against the California Glock ban. And her name is U.S. District Judge Monica Ramirez Almadani. She denied that request for a temporary restraining order, and the language that she used was so absolutely convoluted, it is hard to wrap your head around, except it's not hard to wrap your head around. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It almost sounds like she probably came up off sniffing the glue to write that judgment.
Well, what she said was that California's ban is a ban against FFLs from selling Glocks, not from you owning or possessing them. Excuse me? It's called a Glock ban, Her Honor. It's a ban. Slice and dice it any way you want to. I don't yet know, and I haven't heard anything from DOJ relative to what they're going to do on this yet. But here's the really good part about this. Because the Democrats are so stupid in their anti-gun ways, and we're going to talk about Tallarico here in just a moment, too. I've got to go here with this guy because he's pulling the old Second Amendment history thing that he knows nothing about. We'll eat his lunch in about 2 seconds. It's easy to checkmate these morons. But when they started calling Glocks, and they do this by design, they create the narrative. You know, we've talked about the Democrats hijacking the language for so many years, right? They take the words, they create things. Assault weapons is a perfect example. Machine gun convertible pistols. That's new. What did Virginia do? Assault firearms. Assault firearms. And what did they do with Glocks? A Glock pistol is an assault weapon because it's machine gun convertible. Yeah, well, too bad for them. It's not going to age real well because the United States Supreme Court just took 2 Second Amendment Foundation hardware ban cases. That means guns and accessory cases.
20.
And going to set the Democrats aright here coming up next year in cases we fully expect and anticipate to win, hands down. Armed American Radio's Monstercast from the Kahr Firearms Group studios. Continue for you. The next hour is going to be a good one. Quang Nguyen is going to be here, and what we talk about will shock you. It will literally shock you. It did me to a point where I had to go back and research to make sure I was actually reading what I was reading. And when I bring it to you, and we're going to go to an AZ Central piece, because the story is beginning to blow up, particularly in Arizona. And those of you who have listened to the program for any length of time know that we refer to Quang Nguyen as the Shredder. This guy has done more for gun rights as the chairman of the House Judiciary in Arizona than anybody I can think of in recent memory. And he is the Shredder for a reason. He has killed over 90 anti-gun bills with a Democrat governor who would have signed them if they had somehow gotten through. And that's why we push AZCDL. It's why we want you to join AZCDL. Because there's only a couple votes out there that need to flip in Arizona for that state to go blue on the map, and we cannot let that happen. And Quang, you're not going to want to miss this segment, or the hour coming up with Quang. We'll cover a lot of ground with Quang, but this one story in particular will make you irate. It certainly did myself. And I do have a funny for you, by the way. I want to give Susie a shout-out from the chat, who just notified. If you're watching on YouTube, YouTube puts ads up, I guess, during our breaks. And she said YouTube just put up a Sandy Hook Promise ad during our break, the gun control group. Guys, you know, I would normally say click on the ads, right? Okay. Yeah, you don't have to click on that ad, all right?
Skip.
It's just something that we can't control. Don't think that's coming from us by any stretch. And Susie, I appreciate you letting me know that. I really do.
They do that on purpose, by the way.
Well, I would guess that they probably do, you know, but many times a lot of those algorithms get tricked by a lot of the way that these organizations couch themselves. They like to say they're not anti-gun, that type of deal. And of course, this is a firearm-related program. But nonetheless, I thought, you know, my sense of humor kicks in on that because there's nothing I can do about that. But anyway, I do appreciate that. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, guys, that almost made me forget where I was going to want to go here because I was not planning on hearing that one, Greg, at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that shocked me. Let's go to James Tallarico.
All right.
Talk about a gun grabber. Jonathan Turley at Fox News has a great piece up. James Tallarico's defense of gun control leaves out a key word. The phrase seemingly referred to combat-ready militias, not modern regulatory power. Now, Turley says seem to. So I could take some issue with just the headlines here at all. But I'll quote a little bit from this Fox piece from Jonathan Turley. A virtual cottage industry has emerged among people finding James Tallarico clips espousing everything from declaring his campaign meat-free to there being 6 genders to God being non-binary. I mean, you know, you can't make this stuff up, man. You just, it's ridiculous what these people concoct. But he had a meet and greet at one point, and I guess what he said was the reason he declared his disdain or his position on gun control is he goes back to this now debunked for years and years that the Second Amendment expressly embraces gun control by referring to the right to bear arms as well regulated. I guess James Tallarico hasn't been paying attention and probably needs to go back to school. Regulation. Now, we can have some fun with this by putting it this way. Did they regulate their own guns out of existence? No. That's not what they were referring to. 18th century Oxford English. Greg, what does a well-regulated clock mean? It means a clock in fine, perfect working order. A well-regulated militia means you and me, if called, working in unison with our own arms to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government. And you have to ask the question, in today's day and age, why a guy like James Tallarico, who is he talking to?
Beta O'Rourke.
Well, I mean, he echoed Beto O'Rourke. He echoed Joe Biden with a couple of his boneheaded statements. And there was some requests for me to bring back the Bonehead of the Week award. We used to give out the Bonehead of the Week award on the program many years ago. I'm giving some thought to that because it was kind of fun to do. And there is no shortage of boneheads out there. We could have some fun with that. So look for that to possibly happen, particularly on The Daily Show. We'll give out, maybe this show too, we'll give out the Bonehead of the Week award coming up. It was always fun to do. But it is mind-boggling. He says a lot of politicians like to talk about the Second Amendment. Very few have actually read the Second Amendment. Because if they did, they would know that the words well-regulated are right there in the text of the Second Amendment itself. Does he believe what he's saying? Even Turley gets it. The term well-regulated, ladies and gentlemen, was not and never was intended to be a reference to regulation in the quote-unquote, as he calls it, contemporary sense or contemporary context. It was used to mean orderly and well-maintained. Because back then, as Turley points out, as we've covered ad nauseum on this program for nearly 20 years, militias were considered the backbone of the American military, particularly by those who feared a standing army, which was our founders, ladies and gentlemen. Some militias were less capable than others during the Revolutionary War. Well-regulated militia meant state militias that were combat ready. So where does the individual right come in? Because possessing the guns were yours. And that was what was central to maintaining such a militia. And I like to go back to the movie The Patriot. Remember The Patriot with Mel Gibson?
Love it. Yep.
Great movie. And a lot of historically accurate stuff in there. And there's the scene where Heath Ledger, who plays his son, comes into the church in South Carolina, seeking men to grab their arms to join them. This is what we're referring to, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the founders had just done. Who in their right mind would think that they were talking about regulating their own guns in an amendment that they just had written because they had just fought? Who in their right mind even believes that nonsense?
The people that listen to Tallarico.
Yeah, the same people that vote for a Jasmine Crockett, I guess. The same people that vote for a Cory Booker. The same people that vote for an Al Green. The same people that vote for a Raphael Warnock, for a John Ossoff, for a Cori Bush. I mean, we could go on down the list, meaning a Democrat. And that's gaslighting, ladies and gentlemen, to the nth degree for him to do this. Now, what he's doing is he's playing to that lowest common denominator of his base, which means stupid. And this takes me back to one of my favorite sayings over the years that I've uttered for 18 years. Ignorance, when left unattended, breeds stupidity. Ignorance is a choice, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not smart enough in today's day and age to pick up that stupid device you have in your hand and actually dig into it yourself, well, you deserve to be called stupid because you are self-regulated as stupid for not doing your own homework. The truth is out there for you, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need me to show you that. You have me to point this out, but it's not necessary. Here's what it requires: a certain level of honesty that the left simply does not possess. Because if they were honest, and if Tallarico were honest, and any of the rest of them that I named, and any of the rest of them that have a D next to their name that are out there gaslighting you all day long, think Murphy in Connecticut, that loudmouth lying all day long on his Twitter feed.
30.
If it weren't for a stupid number of their base, they would never get away with this. And they continue to put it out there in an effort because they know exactly that they can get away with it. It's that sad. Greg, do we have music coming up here?
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay, coming up the next hour, Quang Nguyen. Ladies and gentlemen, trust me when I tell you this, you do not want to miss what's coming up. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues right after the break. Begins right now. If you're rejoining the program, welcome back. If you're just joining the program, welcome in. It's a pleasure to be here. Phoenix, Arizona, Bullhead City, Kingman, Arizona, and Apache Junction, and a number of other places. You're going to want to pay very, very, very careful attention to this hour. Not just Arizona, ladies and gentlemen, all of you, because as you know, Quang Nguyen has been a fan favorite on this program for many years and a very, very, very close personal friend of mine. We're going to get to Quang in just a moment. You don't want to miss this conversation, I can promise you. Greg in Dallas, Texas. The Kahr Firearms Group studio is fired up. The CZ mic is lit. The Patriot Mobile Manch is... The Patriot Mobile Ranch. We could call it a manch.
You have a ranch?
Yeah, I have a ranch. Yeah, no. Ryan Petty actually has a real ranch with cows and stuff, but...
Do you have a ranch? Hold on a second.
Okay, Andy. Conor McGregor fan, what can I tell you? Anyway, I'd never want to meet Conor McGregor in an alley at night and upset, that's for sure. Oh, I don't know. Maybe just kick him in the knee. He might go down. Oh, did I just say that? Yeah, I did. Oh, okay. Well, whatever. 10 years running, two fights. That's all I can tell you. Waste of time watching that last night. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the Patriot Mobile Ranch is lit up for you. The on-air signs are flashing like crazy out there to anybody driving by. Greg in Dallas, Texas, tell everybody where they can watch the program, get involved in the chat. And, folks, we're going to get right to Quang Nguyen, Arizona State Rep and Chairman of the Arizona House Judiciary. Go for it, Greg.
Yeah, sure. Like the McGregor fight was brief, I'll be brief. You can watch the show at YouTube and Rumble. Just search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Head over to X and find us at AAR Mark. You can always head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And to join the live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
All right, let's get this party started for hour number 2. Quang Nguyen, my dear friend, Arizona State Representative and Chairman of the House Judiciary. Welcome in, my friend. How are you today, brother?
Oh, I'm doing super great. And you know what? Don't tell anybody, but my submariner is home. We just picked her up at Sky Harbor and brought her home today. She's going to be with us for a week.
Wow, good for you, and I know you're proud of her. Ladies and gentlemen, Quang's daughter is a, what do you call her, submariner? Can I call her submariner?
Yeah, well, I've been corrected by having to say submariner. So
Submariner.
I guess at some point in time they will also submariner. So anyway, I'm just listening to what she tells me.
Well,
She's the boss.
That's the smart thing to do. But you got a hero on your hands, and I know you're proud. And congratulations. Welcome her home on our behalf as well.
Thanks, sir.
All right, Quang, I'm going to start the conversation with this. And I want listeners to pay very careful attention to what I'm going to tell you now. I am a huge supporter of Turning Point USA. Yeah, that's who we're referencing here. And it's going to shock you what you're going to hear. I am a huge supporter of Turning Point USA. And make no mistake, what we're talking about here coming up has nothing to do with Turning Point or their mission. Now, regular listeners know I have sent my children on more than one occasion to the Turning Point functions. Pre-Charlie, I've supported them financially. Pre-Charlie, post-Charlie, and will continue to do so. I'm a huge fan of their mission. We are not referencing Turning Point and their mission. We're talking about a particular specific individual here that needs to be called out and has been. And Quang, let me just start with this. Kahr, I wasn't even unaware of this, but the Arizona chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, which of course is a chapter of the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization, on the 9th, called out and condemned a racist social media post targeting an Asian American Republican state lawmaker, that would be you, saying such attacks normalize racism and embolden extremists. The post made by a leader affiliated with Turning Point USA, and he is Turning Point USA's TP Action COO, Chief Operating Officer Tyler Bowyer. I hope I pronounce his name right. It's not Bowyer, it's Bowyer, I believe. When he questioned you in an X post asking if you can even speak English, and the blank storm happened. The Arizona Republic is reporting it. You have got a tremendous amount of support out there. And ladies and gentlemen, Quang texted me the exchange. I was so taken aback by what I read that I questioned, not questioned Quang, but I was trying to understand the context of how this occurred. Quang, the floor is yours, the mic is yours.
So like you, I also support Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. They've done a tremendous amount of work in terms of turning out voters. They're doing everything they can. So it all started out with Tyler Bowyer decided to attack my conservative scores. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, right off the bat, you and your audience, and Greg, know me in terms of where I stand with my conservatism. So a scorecard to me is subjective, but him being who he is not subjective. It's exactly who he is. I never called out I never used the word racism. I don't believe in racism, and I'll tell you why. I was elected in a legislative district that is 78% Caucasian. So I'm telling you right now, people voted for me because of where I stand with pro-life, why I stand with government spending, why I stand with gun rights.
Immigration.
And I am as conservative as they come. Immigration. Yes, I supported bills and actually sponsor bills to close the border and also to get money funding to border security. And so you don't have to question any of that. But, I'm always wondering why people would attack me. And so a couple of representatives came in. One of them came in and defended me by saying, hey, look, his score is the same as mine. Mine is slightly higher, and yet, you endorse me, but you're trashing Quang or the other legislator. There is some inconsistency here. And by the way, Mark, I hope my English is okay so far.
I understand you. I think you're good. Greg, do you understand Quang? Listeners, do you understand Quang?
I'm working through it over here.
If you do not, drop a comment in the chat, and we'll let him know that he needs to bone up on his English. Yeah, I think you're doing just fine. I think you're doing okay, Quang.
That's right. I just want to make sure, though. I just want to make sure that the audience doesn't feel uncomfortable with
well, if something
English.
happens, I'll make sure to ask you to speak a little slower, okay? Okay. All right. There you go.
So what happened is, and then he decided to unendorse the legislator who questioned the inconsistency. Now, here's the thing. You can't just endorse people and unendorse people because your tiny little feelings are hurt. I just don't like that. It takes away the legitimacy of the organization. You endorse people because they do good work, not because you don't like what they say or they call you out for your inconsistency. That's not how a good organization would run. And I spent 35 years in the corporate world. We don't do that kind of crap. And that's okay. He's the CEO. He can do whatever he wants to. But here's the other thing. When I defended myself and he ran out of arguments and he immediately questioned, can you speak English? You know why? Because I misspelled a word in my response to him.
In an X post, ladies and gentlemen, in an X post.
Right. And where he went in and misspelled 15 times right after that, but you don't see anybody questioning him. But neither here nor there. I'm wondering why, that's all. I'm not even demanding an apology. I'm not calling him a racist. I'm not taking down Turning Point USA, or I can't anyway. But my point is, let's have a conversation. Let's find out why people do what they do. Why do you have scorecards? I mean, I can tell you this guy is doing a much better job than Democrats. You know why? Because he's doing a better job at attacking Republicans than the Democrats that I have to work with on the floor.
Okay. Let me stop you because I'm glad you went there, ladies. Greg, how much time do I have? I want to hold off. I don't want to get started and get the break.
50 seconds.
50 seconds. Quang, let me take us to the break with this, okay? And then when we come back, we're going to dig into this. I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to go into, ladies and gentlemen, why this started and how the response occurred and why it occurred and why it's important. Because they endorsed at Turning Point, and they can do whatever they want to do. I don't care about that. Like I said, I support the organization and their mission. But they endorsed Michael Carbone with an 80.33 rating, Pamela Carter with an 80.29 rating, Nick Cupper with a 79.33 rating. And before I go any further, I want to tell you, and I'll continue on the other side of the break. There's a method to my madness. They did not endorse Representative Payne, 80.22, Livingston with a 78.33 rating, and Quang with a 78 rating. However, they did endorse Michael Pena with a 78.67, Chris Lopez with a 75.48, Matt Gress with a 74.33, and James Taylor with a 73.08. There is zero consistency in this rating, and when we come back, we'll tell you what Tyler said about the conservative chops of the man you're listening to on this program. He wasn't good enough, but apparently the ones with worse ratings were. We'll be right back. /AAR as well. Let's go back to Quang Nguyen. Arizona State Representative, very dear friend of mine, Quang is, and you know him on this program for a long time. He's a fan favorite for a reason, and his conservative chops, ladies and gentlemen, need no explanation, which is why I was so taken aback by what I saw and so disappointed in what Tyler did to Quang. And Quang, I think by going back to some of these numbers, these endorsement numbers, because that's what started all of this. And, you know, you've got endorsements from another very good friend of mine and yours, and that's Maricopa County Sheriff Jerry Sheridan, who's been a guest on the program. I've met with Jerry.
I'm sorry, that would be David Rhodes. David Rhodes.
Who?
Yavapai County Sheriff.
Oh, Yavapai
David
County.
Rhodes.
Okay, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking at Sierra Anderson's up here. But regardless, because he's not in your district, that's Maricopa County. But anyway, we love you, Jerry Sheridan in Maricopa County. Sorry about that. But Quang, you have the endorsement out there as well. This all stemmed from that, and I went through those numbers. So they didn't endorse you, and he made a comment. And I want you to clarify this for me because I can't find the X post here. But I know you know it intimately, and that was that he said something about you not alluding to you not having the conservative chops, or that something. What did he specifically say?
I'm terrible. His words were, "I'm a terrible legislator." And I'm okay. You know what?
That's
if
politics.
he
I get
decided
it.
that I'm a terrible legislator, I get it. If I'm a terrible legislator, try to help me out. Call me up on the phone and say, "Quang, you can do better here." And I probably give him the middle finger for telling me what to do.
Well, I do want to point this out.
We'll talk about it.
Let me point this out. I think this bears repeating, and it's very, very important. I like to make up my own words on this show. We've been doing it for years, and I'm going to do it now, okay? Because he endorsed, or they endorsed, individuals with lower ratings than you.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So I could make up a lot of words here. All right? Endorser.
Same here.
Who's let's be FCC friendly here. We have to do that. But let's come up with a word. Who's the endorser here? Okay? If he doesn't have the conservative chops and he's a terrible legislator, then what does that mean about their own rating system when they've got 3 or 4 people they're endorsing that are quote unquote worse on their own rating scale than you? And then to counter you with a racist statement like that? Now, you are a stand-up guy, okay? I like to think I am too, but here's the deal. I'm not calling for Tyler to be fired, none of that. But I want some accountability at Turning Point. You're listening in Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening throughout the state. This matters to you. This man needs to be called out for this. This man should apologize to you, and he should apologize to you publicly, but instead, what did he do, Quang?
He doubled down. He made a comment on Twitter that his question stands. Hey, that's okay too, man. I'll tell you what. There's a possibility of us losing the state to Democrats. So if you're not going to help me, don't go out of your way to hurt me. Because at the end of the day, I promise you, Mark, and you know this, you've been to the office, you've been on the floor. Mm-hmm. I'm about the only competent Republican who can stand on the floor to do what? To defend the right to keep and bear arms. The only guy could competently stand up on the floor to do that in committees, on the floor, anywhere. How about at conferences when you guys actually put me on the panel? I've never seen any of these clowns at all ever showing up at a gun conference or a rally or stand up on the floor. The only time they can stand up on the floor to say something meaningful or halfway, it shall not be infringed. The rest of the 27 words are not remembered or not recited, but there we are. You know, I'm not going to pound my chest, but what I'm saying is...
No, pounding your chest is okay.
Be more conservative.
That's okay, Quang. And the fact that you know how many words are in there, that matters. There's 27 words in there, okay? And you get it. How many of those that can say shall not be infringed even though it's 27 words?
Right. And here they are. You know, I took care of fentanyl dealers this year. I took care of human trafficking. I took care of gun trafficking. I took care of border security, $20.6 million for border-related crimes.
And saved gun ranges.
All those, and yet, save the gun ranges. And I'm telling you about the gun ranges. The gun range is in LD3, Legislative District 3, 100 miles south of me. And the people that he endorsed, didn't even lift a finger to do anything. I've been trying to work on this project for 2 years, and finally the governor signed a bill, a gun bill that didn't have a single Democrat support.
And she's a Democrat.
Where are their endorsed candidates in Legislative District 3? I love those guys. They're Republicans. They vote with me. I vote with them. But they didn't lift a finger, but yet they're endorsed. And the freaking guy who's just busting his ass every day, trying to do all the right things, what? Nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
don't
sense.
Endorse me. I don't need your endorsement. Just don't go out of your freaking way to hurt me.
You know, look, let me say this. I haven't brought up Lindsey Graham yet, okay? And I pray for Lindsey Graham's family. Terrible news from South Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay, that literally, I got, from what I understand, in a bizarre deal, I guess it's being found that the last phone call he made was apparently to President Trump, which I find interesting because let's not forget, politically speaking, those guys did epic political battles back in 2015 when Trump was first running, but they mended fences for the betterment of the party and the conservative movement. Now, I didn't agree with a lot of Lindsey Graham's deals, okay? But I'd rather have Lindsey Graham in office than anybody that's got a D next to their name. And I would think that Tyler Bowyer would be smart enough to understand that and not attack a fellow Republican. He can attack, look, I attack Lindsey Graham for a lot of his positions. No question about that. That's 100% fair game. Politics is a rough and tumble, full contact sport. No doubt about it. And you know it. That's why you said what you said at the outset. Nobody is going after Turning Point's mission, ladies and gentlemen. I supported them financially prior to Charlie and post-Charlie and will continue to do so. But gosh darn it, when you start throwing racist comments in, you lower yourself to a point where, you know what? You owe the man an apology, Tyler. Step up, man up, and apologize to the man. Phoenix, you're listening. Maybe you can put some pressure on him. We love you guys. We've got 2 more segments with Quang. We're going to go in a different direction and talk about the history made regarding your Second Amendment in the next 2 segments with Quang. Don't go away. Continuing here on hundreds of radio stations around the nation. We love all of our great affiliates. Thank you all for carrying the broadcast for so many years and continuing to grow. Wham, Ann Arbor, Michigan, WAAM, AM, and FM. Used to live up there from the time I was 9 to 15 years old. Greg, there's a lot of firsts in your life between 9 and 15, and I have a lot of old friends up there that are still there that are suffering under Gretchen Whitmer and what the Democrats have done to that state. And I remember back when I was a kid, it was a very conservative place. Ted Nugent calls it home as well. So Wham, thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys very, very much. And to all of our new affiliates around the nation, welcome, welcome, welcome. Guys, we continue the conversation with Quang Nguyen, Arizona State Representative and House Judiciary Chairman. And Quang, jump back in with us here. Quang, you mentioned that I've been there and I've been on the floor of the House with you. You were kind enough to give me a shout out on the record on the House floor there, and I appreciate that greatly. It was a highlight of my life, to be honest with you. And I've sat in your office. I've seen the shredder machine. I know how many bills that you have nixed. I know what your conservative chops are on all of the issues that you mentioned. And I just want to give you the final word as we go into some new topics now. I want to cover with you this historic momentum that we have behind us now with the Second Amendment relative. And get your idea and get your take on some of these SCOTUS cases that we've just seen and what we've got coming up, and get your thoughts there. But first, I want to give you the final word on the Tyler Bowyer deal and the TPUSA, and then we'll move on. Go for it. The mic is yours, bud.
No, but I think I'm okay. I think I was able to express a little bit of disappointment in my fellow Republicans, supposedly fellow Republicans. But I think this is what's going to happen. If we don't stick together, we're going to lose the state of Arizona. We lose the state of Arizona, I guarantee you, this governor is going to wipe out everything that we have done, a la the state of Virginia, right? We saw that happen. Yeah. We're going to see it happen here in Arizona. So if I were, all these different independent organizations, what I would do is I would say, what's going to hurt us? Border security. What's going to hurt us? The Second Amendment. And we need to protect those individuals that are experts in these areas to make sure they're protected, to make sure they come back with a majority. The only thing I care about, Mark and Greg, is coming back with the majority so that I can do what I can do. So far, between 2023 and now, 101 bad gun bills has gone through the House of Representatives. And I can tell you right now, AZCDL actually came out and asked me straight out, who's going to replace you? Well, I said, another Republican will. and we're all going to be doing fine. It doesn't matter. Once I'm gone fishing, I'm going fishing. I'm gone.
Washington needs you, Quang. I speak for my listeners when I
know?
say that. Washington needs you up there. We need a shredder in D.C. Good heavens, we don't know what's going to happen in the midterms, but boy, you would be a breath of fresh air. In fact, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? You know who I would have loved to have seen run the ATF? The man you're listening to right now would have been an absolute perfect fit for the ATF. So, on that note, Quang, let's jump over there. How do you feel about the direction of the ATF right now? There's a lot of history being made with the Second Amendment. And when I say history, I'm going back to the nation's founding, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not just referring to modern history, the last 20, 30, 40, 50, even 100 years. I'm talking about going back to the nation's founding. What we have seen happen in the last 2 months has been nothing short of absolutely historic. Quang, we have the momentum behind us. The sails, the wind is behind us. It's at our back right now. We've just got two, as you know, you've won awards from the Second Amendment Foundation for the work, Tyler. You might want to look into that, by the way. 5-time award-winning representative for his chops, particularly regarding the Second Amendment. Having said that, you understand this more than most people out there from the position of someone who's controlling what bills are actually going to hit the floor. So give us some of that knowledge. How do you think, let's transition from the state rep now. Let's say you were in D.C. What are you thinking right now when you see SCOTUS taking two cases, the Cook County assault weapons ban and the CCDL case up in Connecticut? Your thoughts on this? This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 throat punch, probably going to be 6 and 7 because we're going to win those cases, Quang. You know we're going to. They're 0-5 at SCOTUS. We're 5-0. Tell me who's winning this, brother. Tell me.
We are winning huge. I've never been so happy. I never thought that we would get to this point where once and for all, AR-15s are okay to have in your home and have it in your car, have it at the range, have it at a hunting ground, whatever. I am just completely happy about what's happening. But I'm going to pull you back to the state again. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter really what happens at the federal level. And if we don't keep Arizona, my home, this is where my children grew up. This is where I go to the range. This is where I go to have fun. And if we lose the state of Arizona, it doesn't matter. These people will wreck our state. But that being said, I am extremely positive. I can't be any more positive than what I am today. And I can't wait for the final decisions to come out.
Oh, I know,
think
right?
It's all going to be good. I think it's going to save the state of Colorado. It's going to save the state of Virginia.
California. Illinois.
It's going to, California. Well, I kind of forgot about California. I left there 20 years ago. I never looked back, and I'm sorry you mentioned it, but I just forgot about the state of California. But this is where we are, and I think we need to continue to support Republicans because at the end of the day, it's not the independents, it's not the Libertarian Party, it's certainly not the Democrats, it's not anybody but the Republicans standing in the way of making sure that the Democrats aren't going to crash our gate and take down our Second Amendment.
Well, that's why these two cases coming up are just another couple nails in locking this down for our rights. I keep referring back to my conversation with U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche at NRA when he was acting AG, and he made it very clear to me on the air during our interview, as well as an conversation off air for about 10 or 15 minutes I had him, when he said our goal is to lock down the Second Amendment for future generations, regardless of what happens in the midterms or any subsequent election. And they're certainly heading in the right direction with that, Quang. There's no question about it. So having said that, you know the Democrats, to quote Ryan Petty, who will be here in the next hour, ladies and gentlemen, as a part of the Classic Roundtable, he made it very clear the left will never stop. That's his famous saying. Quang, we know they're not going to stop. Let's jump forward 9, 10 months from now. We've got a ruling out. We won those two cases. Alan Gottlieb retires, an absolute hero, a giant in the world of Second Amendment rights. What is the left going to do next? Do you think they're just going to dry up and go away? Are they going to scurry like the cockroaches they are? They're not, are they? They're going to come back and try something.
Not.
What will they do next?
Absolutely not. They will continue to try to wreck the system, all right? They're going to try to buy sympathy from the misled population, and they're going to continue to push. They're not going to stop. I mean, look, we have Heller, we have McDonald, we have Bruin. You would think that's good enough to make sure that our Second Amendment is protected, right? Look, I shredded 101 bills, all right? And so where does it end? They're never going to end, because the end goal is communism. And communism will not ever work if you and I have guns in the homes. So they have to make sure to take that away from us, because communism will not exist if we can defend ourselves. How do I know that? I freaking came from a country under a communist war. I know these people. I know these people inside out. I know how they think. I know how people like Tyler Bowyer think, because that's what they're doing. In order to take down the Republican Party, you have to take one component at a time out, and that's exactly what he's doing, okay? So I hate to bring that all the way circling back to
it's quite all
our
right.
original conversation, but it is what it is, man. Why would you want to take down a great system? You want to take it down because you want to replace it with your own, and your own is what? To take down the republic.
Yeah,
I've seen it before. I've lost my home, my freedom, and everything. My friends, my family members being executed. There you have it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what a powerful place to end. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Quang Nguyen, and I'm going to tell you what they did in New York City, guys, just to drive home the point that Quang made, and not mention Justin Moon, whose father knows all about communism. Justin will be here, the CEO. Yeah, welcome back to the show. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom on hundreds of radio stations across the nation today. Hope you're paying careful attention. Arizona, Phoenix, Kingman, Apache Junction, and wherever else we are out there I probably don't even know about. But we're everywhere. So having said that, go back and listen if you missed this hour with Quang. It's not an hour you want to miss. If you're in Arizona in particular, you really need to be paying attention. It's a sad testament. For anything, even if it's not a gun. Maybe it's a piece of jewelry. Maybe it's important paperwork. And they also have things on top that are secure and locked also that you can reach. If you ever put a lot of stuff on top of your safe, I've got stuff that doesn't need to be in the safe on top, stored up there, but you can put other stuff up there that locks there as well. Make sure to check out all their amazing products at PendletonSafes.com. Get you one. CovePure.com/AAR, BudsGunShop.com, National Rifle Association. They're all there for you at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Quang, welcome back in. You would talk about communism. A lot of people are unaware of this story. I don't even remember, excuse me, where I saw it. I believe it was one of the networks earlier today. Greg had mentioned to me during the break that he hadn't heard it. You want to talk about how communists work? Did you see what they did with the immigrant maps that they drew in New York City? The official city immigrant maps? They eliminated and wiped out, they didn't even mention Little Italy, any of the Jewish sections of the city, or any of the Irish sections of the city, which are all very storied local neighborhoods in New York. Little Italy wasn't even there. They're literally trying to wipe out your heritage, ladies and gentlemen. Wipe it out. That's what commies do. Quang, stop me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong at all. Communism is all about control. And, first of all, I think everyone knows this, that communism doesn't exist without somebody else's money. They do nothing to generate their own revenue, so they cannot add. If you don't generate revenue, you cannot add to society. You cannot make life better for people. And all you can do is dominate people. Mm-hmm. And you ever notice that all the communist leaders are enshrined in their little glass coffin mm-hmm. to be viewed by many, many generations later? These people are full of themselves, okay? They're not there to help you. They're not there to make your life better. They're just there to create some kind of a false, legacy. And unfortunately, young people are buying into it. They're not interested in your heritage. They're not interested in anything that you have, that you build for your own life or your own family legacy. They're there to destroy everything in the name of control. And I can tell you, man, they have no problem taking grandmas out in the backyard and shoot them.
Oh, no,
they've disagreement.
They are responsible for the deaths of hundreds of millions of people around the globe. Hundreds of millions of people over the years around the globe.
My cousin, an airborne soldier, a pharmacist who had never picked up an M16 to go fight a war. He was in the airborne unit. Did he jump out of plane? Yes, he did jump out of plane, but he was a pharmacist, and he continued to escape out of prison. And this is my first cousin, and they took him with 1 day left in his sentence, and they executed him. And you know what he did with one more day? He said he told his younger brother in prison that I'm going to leave and I'm going to go find freedom on my own term, not on theirs. With 1 day left in his prison sentence, he escaped. They took him out. They shot him in front of the re-education camp. What do you think I care about what Tyler Bowyer says about me?
Yeah, well, that's where Tyler Bowyer, to circle back, to use the Jen Psaki phrase there, we like to rag her. This is the information he should know, which might wake him up a little bit to why we don't make statements like this when we don't know what the hell we're talking about and who we're talking about. Because I bet you he did not know your family history. And you know, look, here's the deal. Like I said, I'm not calling for his head. I'd just like to see him apologize to you. What he did was uncalled for. And I know TP people are listening. And Erica Kirk, you know, you run the organization. There has to be some type, you can't let this one slide. You just cannot. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong, period. It's that simple. Quang, with the minute that we have left, after we win these two cases at SCOTUS and that news comes down in June, what's left for us to do? You've got about a minute.
Man, knowing that they're never going to stop, we have to find the next battle, and we have to anticipate, we have to preempt all these future conflict with the Democrats in terms of the Second Amendment. We have to find ways. If they can find 101 bills to introduce
in Arizona
in 4 years in Arizona, you know they can find more in between the gaps, and we're always going to have to be anticipating the battle. Communism is about long-term planning. It's not about winning today, but it's going to win in 2 or 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah.
You know, with the indoctrination, with the de-education of American children, this is what you're going to have. So you're going to have to continue to think about the future. And if I'm wrong, everybody wins. But if I'm right, we're in trouble.
Well, based on what we're seeing with some of the younger generation, and more important than the younger generation that's embracing this nonsense, is the fact that the Democrat Party's leadership appears to be embracing this nonsense. And that's where that is where the danger lies, right there. Quang, I love you, man. We're getting ready to end this hour. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for opening up and talking about this. And I know it's that the story is getting a lot of legs out there in Arizona, and, well, we just brought it national. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of nonsense that has to stop. This is the type of infighting that has to stop. And again, I want to make it very clear. Both Quang and I support Turning Point's mission and won't stop supporting Turning Point's mission. One bad apple in the bunch making a boneheaded statement, and let's just do it this week. Let's give a Bonehead of the Week award out to Tyler Bowyer. All right, Tyler Bowyer at Turning Point Action, Chief Operating Officer. You are officially Armed American Radio's first Bonehead of the Week in years. So thank you for handing that to us and bringing back the Bonehead of the Week award, Tyler Bowyer. Grow up, kid. It's pretty much that simple. Grow up. Quang Nguyen, Arizona State Representative and Chairman of the House Judiciary, God bless you for everything that you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming back in the next hour with a classic Armed American Radio Roundtable. Somebody else who knows about communism, Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arms, Parkland father Ryan Petty, and of course, combat vet, former law enforcement officer Brad Premo at 6 minutes after the hour. Don't go away. We'll be back. And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching on your devices or your television sets, you see me kind of bopping my head because of the intro music. We don't play the intro music on the video for you because of copyright strikes. So that's why, and I get a lot of questions about that. How come we missed the intro on the video? That's why. because they're treating us really well over there, except, Greg, for the fact that we found out today they were running anti-gun organization spots during the show today. There was
Shocking.
that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not, I can't, it's their ball, their bat, their field. Okay, I'm a fair person, right? It's not my ball, my bat, their field. I've kind of found that interesting, and the fact that listeners picked up on that is a beautiful thing, too. So, again, another shout-out to Susie for mentioning that in the chat. That was always fun. Greg, the Kahr Firearms Studio is lit up for us, brother. We're going to have another fun hour, and it's going to fly by, ladies and gentlemen. It always does. We kind of really don't know in this hour where we're going to go. We kind of wing it. That's what makes the roundtable so fun. And we're waiting for Ryan Petty to jump in. Hopefully,
I think Ryan's in here. Hang tight.
Ryan's in here. Good. We've got
Yeah, I
Ryan
think so.
working on that right now for you. Ryan's been traveling, so he's back. He's got his feet firmly planted on terra firma at his residence because he actually has a real ranch. So the CZ mic is lit up for you. Mark Walters, I am filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. Let's get started. Let's jump over and go to Brad Premo, combat vet who has fought for your freedom, ladies and gentlemen, and former law enforcement officer. He's got us covered in all those areas. Brad Premo, welcome in, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Ryan's connected. He's not communicating yet.
So I guess, Brad, I'm going to throw this at you because you've been on the show for quite some time, many years with us. We love you, man. Fan favorite for a reason. If you're new to the show, you're about ready, as we say down south, you're fitting to find out why in just a moment. But this is usually about the time of year. Don't you usually take off and spend some time with your family in Spain?
Yeah. Matter of fact, leaving Friday. Gonna be over there for a couple of weeks, and hope to have a good relaxing vacation.
Well, we're going to have some rotating guests sitting in trying to fill your shoes. That'll likely include Neil McCabe and maybe David Codry and some others while you do all that really cool, fun stuff. So we're glad to have you today. Thanks for being here. And, of course, Justin Moon, CEO, Kahr Arms. How you doing, Justin? Ladies and gentlemen, fan favorite for a lot of different reasons. How you doing, Justin? Welcome in, brother.
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You know, we just had Quang Nguyen on the show, Arizona State Representative and Chairman of the House Judiciary out there, who, like your family, a lot of similarities here. His family fled Vietnam during the war, and he was telling us a very harrowing story about his first cousin who was executed by the communists. And, Justin, we're going to go there with you because I'm going to start this conversation today. I couldn't help but think about you. You probably saw this. If not, it's not. I'm not going to catch you off guard here. Not to mean to put you on the spot, but I went back and looked, and it was a Fox News piece that I saw this morning that came in on my alert. Justin, did you happen to see the report that Mamdani and his administration in New York redrew the immigrant maps of the city of New York, and in the process they eliminated Little Italy, all of the Jewish enclaves, and all of the Irish enclaves in the map? The heat on them was so intense that they're redrawing. Now, you know about commies. That was 100,000 gazillion% intentional, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, Mandami is definitely a communist. He's taking away private property rights with expanding rent control. He's going to cause a devastating housing shortage there. And, there are certain groups in the city who are very entrepreneurially oriented towards private property, like the groups you mentioned, and he doesn't want them to be there anymore because he wants the government to own everything.
But this is how it starts. This is how it starts, Justin. I mean, correct. You know this system. Your family has suffered through it. You've told our audience about it, and very similar stories to Quang. What do you say to people who might be listening that see what's happening in New York? Here we're coming off all of these monumental, historic Second Amendment wins in this country over the last couple months, and there will be more coming up next year. No question about it. Yet the communist aspect, this party, the Democrat Party, has seemingly embraced this ideology. What is your advice to people around the country who are witnessing this? What do you say to them as someone who has witnessed this? Your own father was within hours of his death. What do you tell people?
Well, the commies are coming, so just get ready. Make sure you exercise your Second Amendment and buy guns and ammo.
I mean, it's crazy to see what we're seeing in this country. Is it, Brad, is this a part, Rush Limbaugh, who I miss dearly, if he were alive today, he'd be the only talk radio show host that I would listen to. And I don't say that because I don't like anybody else. It's because I do it for a living. But Rush was a completely different animal. He used to say, young skulls full of mush. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we're dealing with here? Is that what the Mamdanis are using? Is that part of the playbook here?
I mean, I think it's part of the playbook, but I mean, we have to actually just be honest with what we're looking at. And to me, the primary problem politically in this country right now are leftist women. If you look at the polls and studies that are done, men, we're generally concerned about foreign policy, the economy, like things that affect your everyday life. Mm-hmm. If you look at the two things that women care about, it is fighting against right-wing policies and abortion. Those are the two main issues that they vote on in droves in this country. Half of them are walking around, probably more than half of them are walking around medicated, and they have absolutely lost their minds, and they also now have more political power than they've ever had before in this country, and they vote for people like this Mamdani. They'll vote for any commie, purple hair, whatever, as long as it's not Donald Trump because the patriarchy or whatever their problem is. That's really, I think, where we have the biggest problem that we need to figure out because, it's not going away anytime soon. And with social media, it is spread like a contagious disease.
You're right.
And it's a mind virus, and that's what we're dealing with.
Well, Justin, when you hear Brad mention it like that, I want to point this out. Of course, you're talking about suburban white women, and that's been a real big problem in areas like Northern Virginia and outside major cities. You're right. And Justin, it begs this question on the heels of what you and I just talked about. How, some of my greatest conservative friends are women. Some of the greatest conservatives I know are my wife, my daughter, my mother, my sister, and some of my closest friends, many of whom have been on this program, many of whom you share friendships with. You and I share friendships with a lot of them. What's the difference here? Why does one subset seem to want to vote? What is it they don't understand about their country, and how could they possibly lose that aspect of their patriotism? How does that work? I guess I'm asking for a friend because I don't know the answer to that, but kind of do. I just want to hear it from you. How's that work?
I think the big challenge in our country is that in the last 50 years or so, after World War II, of course, we've had a period in our country starting probably from last 30 years. I would say from after the Reagan age to now, where we've had challenges and hollowing out of the middle class. So it's been harder and harder for Americans, whether they're working class or professionals, to actually see their incomes grow. And, we have a lot of Americans right now who are working two jobs to make ends meet. And as a result, there's a lot of frustration with the economy. So I think, we have to deal with this problem in really a mature and rational manner, and that we need to figure out and solve the problem of the stagnation of the middle class in this country.
Well,
and I think that's a big issue.
It's hard to argue with that. You're right. But that shift, Ryan Petty's just jumped in here, and I know Ryan was listening. Ryan, when you see a shift to communism, you might have missed the very outset of the opening statements. So let me take us to the break with this, Ryan, just to repeat for your benefit. What started this part of the conversation was my mentioning that Mamdani and his administration have redrawn the immigrant maps in New York City, completely eliminating Little Italy, the Jewish enclaves, and the Irish. I mean, these are three of the immigrant groups, including my grandfather, who came in through Ellis Island as an Italian in the 1920s. Wiped it out, didn't even mention it. These are some of the most storied neighborhoods in New York. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts on this on the heels of what you just heard from Justin and from Brad as well. When we come back, Ryan Petty joins us. We welcome him to the roundtable as always. We've got 3 more segments. Buckle in, guys. It flies right by. We'll be back right after the break. All right, NRA.org. AAR. You can visit them and all of our great partners, including Blackout Coffee, Bud's Gun Shop, POG Auctions, AZCDL, Daniel Defense, Kahr Arms. All of them are there for you at armedamericanradio.com. We'll talk about a few more of those when we come back. You know where to go to do that. Ryan Petty, let me go back to you. Your thoughts on the wipeout in New York, based on kind of what you heard from Justin as well.
Well, I just traveled to New York this past week.
You did.
Got to see firsthand the. I mean, look, the average New Yorker is beside themselves. I mean, you got an outflow of people from New York City moving to places like Long Island and wherever they can get. Like Long Island real estate right now is going through the roof, which at first I thought was counterintuitive, but it's these people are fleeing New York City because this guy is an absolute lunatic. In fact, that's probably why I was having trouble with my computer. I think the commies got to it, Mark, when I was.
Well, that's why you need a silent bag when you're up there, dude. Okay, you need one of those. There's the push. Well, but I've got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
It was New Yorkers that put this commie. I would be very FCC friendly here. I'm FCC. I promise. You know, I respect you. You know, I do. I have to. And I've very fortunately not made any mistakes, but maybe one over these 18 years. I just came close. But it was New Yorkers who put this commie in office. Yeah. Dare I say that I have no sympathy for those?
Well, it was primarily, I think, young people that are ignorant of history and ignorant of the snake oil that guy was selling to New Yorkers. They fell for his populist message. His, I'm going to fix everything. I'm gonna make the rich pay for
their fair share. Oh, here we go.
Their fair share, and all the other language that he used. And you've got so many. We've talked about this before. We have generations of young people that are absolutely ignorant of history and what it means, and they don't understand when you say, communism has failed everywhere. Well, yeah, but we haven't tried real communism, or we haven't tried it here, or we haven't tried the American or the Mondami version or whatever. So, look, they're about to learn a powerful lesson. This guy's going to absolutely destroy wealth creation in the city, and they're going to learn. Some people have to learn through experience, and it seems like because we failed to teach this generation the evils of communism, they're going to have to experience some level of it before they understand it.
Yeah, and sadly, New York City, you're listening. Long Island, very conservative area for the most part. The influx up there. What's going to happen is crazy in New York as a result of this. And, again, I want to kind of rephrase what I mentioned before. Of course, New Yorkers, what a majority of New Yorkers did. There's a lot of great new people that live in New York that hate what's happening in New York. And they are, in fact, running. Okay, they're moving. They're taking their money with them. And that's a great thing. I wish more people would do that around the country. All right, let's go to the 7th Circuit. Brad, 7th Circuit just upheld Illinois' assault weapons ban. Now, I chuckle about this for a reason. Apparently, the 7th Circuit is unaware that SCOTUS is addressing this very issue in the next term. So what does it say about the 7th Circuit agenda and ideology that they would uphold a ban in Illinois, knowing it's an Illinois case that the Supreme Court just took? What message do you believe the 7th Circuit is trying to send in the face it is what is going to be just an utter smackdown, Brad?
Well, they don't care. I touched on it last week, which is these people. The way they think now is any court, any decision, any election, any law or anything that it goes against their ideology is illegitimate. It has no force behind it. And so they're going to be team players for the party. They're going to uphold the party line. They're going to toe the line, and they're going to ignore the Supreme Court. They'll ignore whatever they have to be ideologically acceptable to their people, and they're going to continue doing that. And, the danger is that when you start having that type of fracture where parts of the country, branches of the government, whatever, start ignoring the system that we've set up to run our country, you start running out of options, peaceful ways to remedy those problems.
And Justin, as a CEO of a manufacturer, did the Seventh Circuit just telegraph for us a page of the upcoming leftist playbook after they lose those cases? Are they showing us, are some of the lower courts now showing us how they're going to continue to defy SCOTUS down the road after they get smacked down? Isn't that, because that's the way I look at this. As Ryan has said famously, Justin, as you know, you've been here in the conversations for years, the left will never stop. Is this an indication of what we're getting ready to see after the Supreme Court wipes out those gun bans?
Well, we are seeing a fracturing of our country. There, we are definitely diverging, and the commies in those areas, they're going to continue to question the legitimacy of the Supreme Court, because if they can get control of the House of Representatives and possibly win back the Senate and the presidency, they made it clear they want to pack the court. So we really have a lot to fight for right now. But, it's really hard for us to be able to win this battle against the communists unless we're able to show middle America that 30% of the population, from the lower middle class all the way just to the upper middle class, we have to show them that we have a better economy for all of them. Otherwise, it's going to be an uphill battle against these communists and socialists.
It's funny. It kind of all comes back down to money, doesn't it, Ryan Petty? In the long run, it always does. You can look at the demonic side of money. It always comes back to money. The bottom line is, what do people have in their pocketbook, which is what changes how they vote for certain reasons. And it's amazing that Americans will just throw their patriotism, their education, whatever education they had on the subject of American patriotism growing up, because, well, I might be a little bit tight right now. And they're not looking at what's being built for the future, which Trump is trying to wipe communism out in the Western Hemisphere. And he's done an amazing job of it so far. History will treat him very fairly. There's no question, because Cuba's coming next. Ryan, when we come back, we're going to take it over to you. Armed American Radio's Monstercast, the classic AAR Roundtable, continues on the flip side of this break. As I said before, I'm warning you, put your seatbelts on. We've got 2 more segments, and they will whoosh right by. If you were in a Prius, it would sound like... That's what it would sound like. We'll be right back with the crew. Don't go away. CovePure.com/AAR. Welcome back in, guys. 2 more segments to go. Ryan, we'll go to you now. Took some notes down here. We're talking about, are they telegraphing where we're going? You heard what Justin had to say. And I want to tie this together with not just the Seventh Circuit, but as I was thinking about this over the break, I want to pair this up with the injunction against the Virginia assault weapons ban being statewide. And here's why I'm making this analogy and pairing this up. When I ask, are they showing us their hand? Are they showing us their playbook? I absolutely believe they are, and here's why. Justin nailed it, as always, that if they get in office, they're going to pack the court. They're talking as many as 23 justices. Think about that. 23 justices on the Supreme Court. I believe America would fight another war if the Democrats try a power grab that blatant. But who knows? You got Carville out there, that lunatic. Corporal Q-Ball still saying that nonsense. But here's where we tie this together with Virginia. Virginia Democrats, including, and I love this from John Comerford, 2 bullets J. Jones, right? The Attorney General, who made it very clear, our ban is in effect, ignoring the state ban injunction by the judge in the state that said, no, it's not, that the judge had to come back and reiterate that it, in fact, was statewide. They just don't care. And I cannot, when you compare that with what the Seventh Circuit did, you have to draw a conclusion here. This is, to me, is not a coincidence. This is the ideology saying, if we don't agree with the decision, well, the hell with the decision, Ryan. This is what we're up against. And this is an incredibly dangerous playbook, is it not?
100% dangerous. And look, I've said this before a number of times. The goal for the left in the United States is get to is to take us away from being a republic and turning us into a pure democracy. The pathway to get there is stacking the court so that they can impose their will through the legislature, right? Which most legislatures, most states It's majority rule. If you can get a majority to pass it in the legislature and you get a Democrat governor to sign the bill, and then you get the court to uphold it, that's de facto majority rule. That's the goal of the left, because that's how they will take power. And that's why stacking the court is so attractive to them, because if they can stack the court, they believe they can elect majority Democrat legislatures, and they can de facto take over the country.
And it will not matter to them, Brad Premo, combat vet, former law enforcement. It will not matter if they lose future elections if they've got the court stacked, because the court will always rule on the big ticket items that come before the court when they control it, and that's their ultimate goal. Now, I'm going to talk about stacking, Brad. I'm going to stack another one to you, and then we'll take it to Justin. Not only did the Seventh Circuit uphold Pritzker's assault weapons ban, not only did Two Bullets J. Jones refuse, as well as the rest of the Democrats, refuse to acknowledge the injunction against the ban in their state, which they're being smacked down on, but you also have the federal judge in California who denied the DOJ ask for an injunction against the California Glock ban. These all fall into place. These are all very similar because they're all same thing ideologically, Brad, are they not? So it becomes apparent that this is not coincidental.
No, absolutely not coincidental. I mean, they're getting their marching orders from somewhere, someone, and they've all got the same playbook. I mean, that's one thing I will give Democrats credit for, is it does not take them long to get them all singing from the same sheet of music.
No, they're good at it.
Usually a matter of about, it takes them about an hour and a half, and every single one of them starts parroting the same thing across the country. So they are effective at that. But, at the end of the day, I mean, we got to remember, yesterday, day before, the DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, they put out their platform in what does it say? They want to get rid of the Senate. They want to make the House the basically the top of the government, put the Supreme Court and the presidency subservient to the Congress, to the House, and essentially make it mob rule. And they're openly stating this is what they want to do. They want to do that, and so they have a problem on their hands, because that wing of their party is the one that has taken over New York. It's going to start taking over some of these other northeastern enclaves they have, the entire New England enclave that they have.
It's already taken over Seattle.
Out west. I mean, look what's going on out there. So, I mean, in their most populous places, the center where they get all their votes, DSA has its claws deep into it. And so they've got a real problem on their hands, and you're going to see a lot of them, because they're such cowards, they're just going to join it. They're not going to fight it. They're going to join it, because at the end of the day, the type of people who are Democrats would rather rule over ashes than actually have a functional country and not have all the power to themselves.
Yeah, and Justin, based on, as we go around this table here in the round table, let's talk about a little bit closer to you than it is to me, but it's close to all of us because we're Americans. I like to say we're all Virginians right now. We're all Arizonans right now, okay? Anybody that are fighting these battles. Rhode Island, we have not forgotten you. I promise you we've not forgotten you. But let's go up to Maine, Justin. You've got a commie, Nazi, commie, literal true socialist commie Nazi in Plattner who was this far. He already got the Democrat nomination, and he had Bernie Sanders and the rest of them supporting this guy in Maine. Bill Maher himself is out there calling him a bunch of words I can't say because the FCC controls me and I'm not on pay TV like he is. Justin, it just gets worse by the minute, brother.
Yeah, I mean, we are severely challenged right now in our country, because our elites today don't have a vision for America. Like, even if you look at the robber barons of yore, like, men like, Rockefeller and Carnegie, or Ford for that matter, they realize that in order to, protect their wealth and keep the country stable so that they don't have a revolution which results in the mob coming in and lynching them, they figured out that they needed to, raise wages and, build a middle class, create a nation of opportunity for regular Americans, and that said, stabilized the country and took it away from the radicalism which was rising at that time. And we really need a new generation of visionary, American oligarchs who can look beyond their, billions of dollars of assets wealth and say, look, if I'm going to keep my money, I got to make the regular guy do better.
Yeah, well, that's a fact. I think Elon Musk is trying to do that. At least that's his message when we come. Welcome back in. Where did I leave off? Did I leave off with Ryan? Did I leave off with you? Time to go to Brad? Or I went to Justin? Is it back to you, Ryan? Fill me back in. I got a little busy during the break.
You asked me something about aliens, and I just I'm not.
Oh, I
gonna
said
comment.
aliens. Yeah, I said that's right. I said random question of the day: are aliens real? Well, if Andy Hoosier was here, we'll ask him that tomorrow. I already know how he's going to answer that question. The answer to that is absolutely yes. But Ryan, there's always a method to the madness when we talk about this communism deal that's moving around the country. And here's where I want to go with this in the final segment of the program today. As we talk about communism, there's something I want every one of you to remember. I've asked you this question for years and years and years on this program. What is it about their agenda that requires you disarmed? And it is their agenda that requires you to be disarmed. You just heard us talking about communism. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump himself is commenting on it. It's here. It exists. There's a commie running the largest city in the United States, in New York. There's a commie. They mask themselves. They call themselves Democrat socialists, as you heard Justin talk about, the DSA, the rest of these losers. But they're here. And Ryan, they all want, including the Democrat Party, your disarmament. Care to tackle that one?
Look, it's an uncomfortable and awkward place for me to go into the mind of the commie.
Agreed.
Let me try.
Let's try. It's fun.
Look, this is an ideology built on jealousy and distrust of human nature. They do not believe you and I can self-govern, and that we need to be led by our betters, right? The intelligentsia, the learned, those that have risen to prominence and power should be guiding and directing us. Us, the average citizen being armed, is anathema to that philosophy. It pushes, it threatens it directly, and it pushes against it. So they need us disarmed so that they can institute total control over how you and I think, what we buy, where we live, what kind of car we drive, who we associate with, the whole shebang, right? As they say, everything must be controlled so that they can maintain their grip on power. And that is why disarming the average citizen like you and me is fundamental to where they want to go and what they need to do.
Brad, it can't happen in America. It just can't happen in America, Brad. It can't happen here. It's not going to happen here. I mean, Ben Franklin said it. Remember, you just heard Ryan allude to it in the earlier segment when he was talking about a pure democracy. This is not a pure democracy. It never has been. When he was asked what he gave the people, what the founders gave the people at the convention, here's what he said. He said, a republic if you can keep it. Brad, none of this can happen in America. It just can't. Can it? I mean, it can't.
Well, I
think he senses my sarcasm.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think you're right, but at the same time, if we don't act like it's a distinct possibility, then we will end up with communists running the show. It just amazes me how they refuse to give up. I mean, the communists have been handed loss after loss after loss across history, and they refuse to give up. They somehow keep on regenerating and respawning. I mean, the fact that the ideology has lasted as long as it has, and it mutates and it always comes back like a cancer, it convinces me that it is an ideology straight from the pits of hell. That's the only way it can survive, is that it's just pure evil.
Oh, you're right.
And it's the only way it survives in the world. It blows my mind.
It is mind-boggling. It really, truly is, Justin. It's mind-boggling to me because your family has lived through this. It is mind-boggling. It is hard. It really, truly is hard to wrap your head, Justin, around the fact that there are Americans that embrace this. When they have the freedom that they have in this country, and they seem to forget that. And I have to ask you this loaded question, and I know how you're going to answer it. If communists were to take control in this country, would they kill us?
They would certainly come for us and disarm us all. And if we don't give up our guns, they will shoot us and take us to camps and put us in death camps. I mean, they certainly do that. That's not beyond them. Mark.
Doesn't human history bear that out? Not us. It's not us on Armed American Radio. Human history bears that out, does it not, Justin?
Communism is like when the bank forecloses on your loan. The government comes in and they take everything. They take all of your money, and you're left with nothing, and they throw you out. And that's what happens when the communists take over your country. They basically, take everything you got. No more private property. All your assets, all your property, all gone to the state.
And, Ryan, 90 miles south of the state you reside in, and I'm going to shout out a very good friend of mine, an old friend of mine by the name of Dan Agramonte, who I've known for years. Dan and his son I've known his son since he was knee-high to a grasshopper like my own son, about the same age when they were little. We've been on the air that long. And Dan's family in Cuba, Che Guevara himself rode up on horseback and took their family's property, their home, and their matchbook factory, and they were able to escape. He nationalized it right there when he rode up on horseback with his minions. Ryan, it's real, is it not? You've got 20 seconds.
It is real, and it's a constant threat, and that's why you read the quote, Republic, if you can keep it. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We have got to do a better job of teaching history to our young people so that they grow up and understand that we live in the greatest country that has ever existed in human history. And the state of freedom that we enjoy is not the natural state of man. It is conflict, it is war, it is violence, it is oppression. And if we don't do everything we can to preserve it, we will end up like every other civilization that has occupied this earth.
Yeah, and I'll quote Jared Yanis from Guns and Gadgets not long ago on the program. No one is coming to help us, ladies and gentlemen. The cavalry is not coming. If freedom dies here, it dies everywhere. And it's up to us. Stay well armed, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Petty, thank you for being here. Justin Moon, CEO of Kahr Arm. Fantastic. Always good. Fan favorite for a reason. Brad Premo, enjoy your family vacation, brother. We got you covered while you're gone, and we'll look forward to you coming back. Guys, thanks all of you for being here. Guys, we're going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. I'll see you on the radio, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. We'll be out tomorrow. See you on the radio.
You just filled your prescription for free.